Oh ho! Welcome from the Hill of Beans up in the Forestry. It's a bit windy, so I hope this mic is working alright. You see the mountains behind me? That's the Northern Range. Goat Fell, Ben Nevis. That's Ben Nevis there, the wee shark fin one. There. That's one of the three bends which I've been round many times. Anyway, what brings me into the forest today? Well, I've just walked up a fire break. This is my usual Hill of Beans walk, but I decided to come into the forestry today because I'm listening to Lord of the Rings again for the first time in maybe 20 years, maybe more. And I just read the chapter called The Old Forest, when Bilbo and Merry and Sam and Pippin find themselves in the old forest and get captured by Old Man Willow. Well, two of them get captured by Old Man Willow, and Tom Bombadil comes along and rescues them. And it sparked my imagination, you know. It made me think of coming up here, you know, what pleasure it would give me to come up here after just having listened to that. By the way, I'll just say that the audiobook read by, Christ, I forget his name now, the actor who plays Gollum in the movies. Fancy forgetting that. That's what happens when I hit record. It's fantastic, and I'm glad that I listened to the chapter on in the House of Tom Bombadil, because he does all the singing, which is just brilliant, the way he does that. So, yeah, as I was up here, I came up yesterday and I recorded as well, but for some reason the mic didn't work, so this is a redo. Oh, hello there. Welcome to the forest. And what I was thinking about was the idea of good versus evil. So there's a scene in the book when they're in the forest, and it says something like, the good things and the evil things in the forest. And I was like, well, we don't have evil things in the forest, do we? We've got animals and nature. It's man that provides the evil backdrop. But is man really evil? Well, that's what I was thinking about, was the idea that Tolkien himself experienced evil, I guess you might say, in World War I and in World War II, is what man is capable of. And yeah, it got me thinking about how that is portrayed through fantasy, with Sauron being the obvious evil entity, the Dark Lord in The Lord of the Rings, and how that was inspired by Tolkien's experiences, you know. So in that regard, evil exists. It's not evil in the biblical sense, like Satan. That's kind of what comes to mind for me when I think of evil. But evil in the humankind sense. But then to go back to the Bible, we've got the fall of Adam. You know, is that the kind of first evil act? So it's quite deep, this stuff, to think about. And then you've got Lord Fowl, the evil entity in the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, who I see as an externalised embodiment of the main character, Thomas Covenant's struggle to deal with humanity after having been given a disease and then shunned by his family and his town and his friends, and how he learns to deal with life in a bitter way in order to survive. And that kind of becomes like a hard ball inside of him, which spills out when he goes through the portal into the land, which is the name of the fantasy land where he ends up. And then there's Tom Riddle, Voldemort in Harry Potter. A troubled young man, neurodivergent you might even say, who is kind of castigated, although he's taken in, isn't he, by Dumbledore early on. But yeah, he becomes kind of evil incarnate as well. And it becomes about dominion, it becomes about power over others. So is that what evil is about? Anyway, that's what I've been thinking about as I come into the forestry to think on the house of Tom Bombadil. Because Tom Bombadil himself, for some reason he's not in the movies, which I find strange because he's such an important character, I think. And I'm just picking my way here through a spongy mud bath. And in this forestry here, you'll see that it's all kind of collapsed trees down this fire break all the way down. So, you know, it's quite treacherous in some parts. But yeah, Tom Bombadil, there's a part where Frodo, he asks Frodo to give him the ring, which Frodo does, and it says, much to his surprise, because Frodo's already starting to feel the weight of the ring and the covetousness, the preciousness, you know. But he allows Tom Bombadil to look at the ring, and then Tom Bombadil puts the ring on and he doesn't disappear. And in his songs we get the idea, the feeling that Tom Bombadil is very, very old. And he was around before Sauron came into the land, or into Middle-earth. It's got me fascinated to read the Silmarillion, actually. I haven't ever read that. I believe that's the kind of origin story of Sauron and the birth of the rings. I don't know. You might know. Don't tell me. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this reread of Lord of the Rings and coming up here just to unlock it, you know. I don't know if you can hear the creaking of the trees, the bird song, the sun coming through the branches. I'm just coming up to a big barrier. You shall not pass. Look at the big barrier. Uh-oh, how am I going to get under that? Well, I'm going to climb over it. Because you can get over it just here. So, sorry, Balrog, tree trunk. You lose. Back on the level. So I'm just coming out the forest now. It was a quick trip in, coming up from my favourite forestry path walk up the Hill of Beans. And you can only really walk through there when it's been dry for a while, which it has at the moment. Because when the rain comes down, the muddy bits become bogs and you sink right into them. So you don't want to be doing that. But we're just coming back out into the open. And shall I go back to Lord of the Rings? Or shall I go back to a new book that I've just started listening to by Fiona Hill, which is called There's Nothing For You Here. And it's a memoir of somebody who grew up in the north of England through the 70s and into the 80s before she went to St Andrews to study Russian history, and then to Moscow to study in Moscow. And she's now been a Russia specialist in the White House, serving under 3 presidents. And I'm really enjoying that, so maybe I'll listen to that today. I look forward to talking about that on the channel. And about the book I've just finished, which is The Zhivago Affair. the Zhivago affair, the Kremlin, the CIA, and the battle over a forbidden book. So you'll probably know that I'm doing a slow read of Dr. Zhivago on my Substack channel and on YouTube as well. And this was a book that talked about the publication of the novel. It's a memoir of Pasternak, but with a specialist subject in the publication, and the CIA's involvement, and the Vatican, would you believe? So yeah, that's been fascinating. And when I get home, I'm going to write a review. I've started writing a review about the Essential Anna Politkovskaya, which I finished a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to co-review I Love Russia by Elena Kostyuchenko and Black Earth by Andrew Mayer, because I think that they make a good trio of books looking at the history and politics, the recent history of Russia in particular. So yeah, writing reviews is something I want to do more of, to get more out of what I'm reading, I think. You know, that kind of the idea. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing when I get home this afternoon. Thanks for watching this. This is Cams Campbell from the Hill of Beans saying cheerio for now.